Hey, what's up? Well, I'm finally making a video and I'm wearing one of my Christmas necklaces that I bought specifically for this time of year when it's still December but no longer Christmas. Sadly but surely, Christmas has passed. And so I might have this video come out in the new year. But my lights have gotten weaker, but yet they still shine. I might want this video to be postponed, like I say, until January, because that leads into my New Year's resolution, which is to cut back on this sort of content, wherein I sit and talk and make a video. See, I got my Christmas trees with blue ornaments, because I associate late December on into early January with this. It's sort of the theme that I have in my mind for it is kind of a blue Christmas theme. Like, it can't really be the perfect red and green anymore, you know, that you associate with the days leading up to Christmas. And but it's still Christmassy and wintry. So anyway, blue and silver is perfect. So what I want to talk about in this video, and I've also got my blue Christmas raglan. You can't see the Snoopy, but not thrilled about it having a cartoon with Christmas lights. You know, I'd much rather it be just a plain shirt, you know, without any cartoons on it. And I'd much rather the sleeves be about 6 inches shorter, but oh well. I got it from a thrift store on clearance. And I want to talk about a number of things in this video. And one of them involves a demonstration with this. And that's another thing I do around Christmas. You know, you kind of learn as you go. And rather than go out and buy expensive holiday flavors or fragrances of soap and things like that, you learn to improvise. And you save your old holiday bottles of soap from year to year. And, you know, if you're not happy with just refilling them clear, you know, just clear soap, you can do fun stuff like you can take some blue soap, because that used to be blue. And surprisingly, I'm learning that sometimes colors don't mix and create what you would expect. Okay, sometimes certain colors are dominant over others, and it's all about the percentage. So if you have some dark blue soap, like that color, and you've bought some orange soap for Halloween and November, and you still have just a little bit of orange left, and you have a lot of blue from September that you put away because no longer summer and water theme, you can add that little touch of orange to your blue soap and it'll make the most beautiful green ever. And you can use that, and I mean, really, let's be honest, soap pretty much smells like soap. No matter what fragrance it is, you can't really tell what it is. And so you can, rather than go out and buy new Christmas bottles of soap, you just save the old ones and you put something that you made green in the bottle, and people will be none the wiser that you did not go out and buy yet another holiday bottle of soap. So that's my tip for the day. What I want to talk about in this video, I want to lead in. I want my New Year's resolution, just like I resolved to stop making what used to define my channel about, I want to say 2021, 22, it may have been my New Year's resolution several years in a row, around the time of COVID, around the time I got COVID. 21, 22, 23. Every year I would resolve to cut back on the content that kind of defined what this channel is all about And I did a very good job of that. A very good job of never again mentioning the title of that movie. And it made me feel much better. And the only thing that makes me feel even better still is to gradually hide, unlist, or privatize whatever I can remove, whatever I can stand to remove that's still a holdover from those days. You know, I still want to have old videos out there. I still, you know, would like to have something to remember what I used to look like when I first started making videos. But at the same time, I just don't want the sheer volume of what I used to discuss to be known and why. Not ashamed of what I said or what I believed. Haven't stopped believing what I believe. I am simply ashamed of the great lengths I was willing to go through to post about it all the time. That's what I'm ashamed of. I'm ashamed of the extent of it, not what I said and why. So, that being said, I'm starting to, it's like these obsessions kind of go in cycles, you know, kind of like the planets. They come back around in various ways, various incarnations. It's like I don't really get new obsessions, I just rediscover old ones. And lately I've been reminded of a few of the other things that were of a similar nature that I used to obsess on, and how they similarly offended people with mindsets for whatever reason that they didn't agree with or like my perspectives. You know, it's really hard to understand, you know, where people are coming from in their objection to a lot of the things that I've posted. But, you know, what I've learned is you just don't argue with people. You know, you don't argue with people that want to gaslight you and lie to you and take knowledge out of your head that you know is the truth. You just give them a dose of their own medicine, you block them, you remove their contributions, and you have as little to do with them as humanly possible online, which is why so many don't allow comments. And what happens is, before, I don't know if I didn't hide the Sofia the First video. You know, I feel like we've come full circle. A year ago, I was so worried about that Superman doll, and he's just kind of in a box doing nothing at the moment, and I'm wearing the same blue outfit. But another obsession I used to have is, I talked about the Sofia the First, and I showed my dolls, and, you know, and it's amazing. That's another thing. I used to be obsessed with having one of each character. And then now, what are they doing? Sitting in a box, not being displayed. They used to collect dust, now they're just in a box. In a bag like this, in a box, not being displayed. So it's like, oh my gosh, why? Why did I care so much about that? See, that's what I'm ashamed of. I'm ashamed of the level of caring. I'm ashamed of the great lengths I'm always willing to go to for these obsessions. And I'm ashamed of the interactions, often negative, that I have with people as a result of them. And then it's like, once I back away from the obsession and see how ridiculous it is, it's like, you know, I have no reason to talk to that person anymore. You know, it's just an embarrassing memory as to why I talked to them in the first place. So, when I was obsessed with Sofia the First, and that's the thing, you know, that's why I severely limit any TV that I watch. I'm really, you know, my dad is Mike TV, I'm Veruca Salt. I want it now, damn it. You know, that's my motto. I want it now. Don't care how, I want it now. I'm implacable, and I'll go to the ends of the earth for these obsessions. And then I forget about them, and I want the next thing. My dad is Mike TV. He can just sit and watch TV 24/7. Fall asleep on it, wake up, watch it again. So, when I was obsessed with Sofia the First, it's almost like I can't, there's no middle ground with me. I'm either not interested in something on TV, which is like 99.9% of what's on TV at any given time, or if I do get interested in it, it becomes an obsession. If I invest anything at all into it, it becomes an obsession. It's like I can't see anything around it, and I have to have everything pertaining to it, including dolls, including, even if I have to make the dolls myself out of whatever pre-existing materials might be in this world. I'm like Veruca Salt. Don't care how, I want it now. That is my motto. And that's why I identify so much with that character. Because she basically describes me. It's like she'll never be happy until she has insert whatever. And then when she gets insert whatever, it's about the next thing. It's not about that anymore. She's implacable. And my dad is a sloth. Lazy. So, yeah, it's like those characters represent the 7 deadly sins. I've seen this before, Augustus is gluttony, Violet is pride, Veruca is greed, Mike is sloth, Charlie is lust, Grandpa Joe is envy, and Mr. Wonka is wrath, because he's downright mean to everyone, including Charlie. And so, yep. That was an obsession for a while when I rewatched that movie. But another thing was Sofia the First. I got heavily involved in that. And I was obsessed. I don't know why it's always the freaking antagonist. Why is the antagonist the most interesting character to me in every single case? Why can't I ever be obsessed with the protagonist? Is what I've always wondered. Why am I always, obsessed with the antagonist? And so just like with Angelica on Rugrats in her purple dress, and Lars on Rocket Power in his purple sweater that was out of place, and, a lot of other characters that have worn purple, I was obsessed with this wizard in a purple robe named Cedric on Sofia the First. And I was obsessed with him because he appealed to so many things about me, first of all, he's a flawed character, so obviously characters with mental issues like me are always going to be more interesting, than the goody two-shoes main character that always does the right thing, never cruel to animals, always sweet to everyone, and so on. Flawed characters will always, be more relatable to me. So, I was obsessed with Cedric because he just appealed to so many things about me. He's like a gray-haired adolescent in so many ways. Like a man-child that never grew up. His voice changed. His hair is going gray. He's kind of like the male-bodied equivalent of what I am, or how I would see myself as being if I could live as a male, so to speak. I'd be very weak, very short, no match for a real adult man like King Roland with his children and all that, but still not a woman, but not exactly a man, hence the purple. Not a real man's man, but then, of course, not a female. And that's why the color purple has always appealed to me. It's in between blue and pink or red. And so I always identified with Cedric on Sofia the First. He was the most relatable character to me because he's an adult, but then a part of him wants to be in a child's world, He wants to interact with children on their level, but yet he can't, because he's an adult. He doesn't want to have children of his own. He just wants to be like one of the kids. And that's kind of how I see myself. I don't know how to be a leader around children. That's one of the many reasons why I don't have them. And so, and the other thing is, even his hairstyle is like, he's wanting to look like Prince James with salt and pepper hair. He's so much like Prince James in the hairstyle, So like I have kind of a little boy's cut, so to speak. But yet he's an adult with salt and pepper hair. And so, yeah, it's like he's a man child, so to speak, an adult child. And he's short and weak. He reminds me a lot of the fans of like My Little Pony and Rugrats and all these shows that I'm talking about. So he was always fascinating to me. And he has one sister, just like me. And so, I was just always fascinated by Cedric. And when I would involve him in my paraphilias, I'll call them that, I would offend a lot of the fans. One in particular who wanted to relate to him as a self-insert, so to speak, and she was a lot better at looking like him than I was. She was probably more of a true transgender, like not living with parents that wouldn't allow that. But she would actually cosplay as Cedric in real life and post pictures of herself, and I kind of offended her, and I kind of not real proud of some of the interactions that may have occurred around 2016-ish. Yeah, that's when I really got into that obsession. And so anyway, what I want to talk about in this video, I know it's already too long, is why I believe, obviously that show didn't have all the bodily function stuff that Rugrats had because it's made for girls and it's a Disney show, not a Nickelodeon disgusting show, or a boys cartoon on Cartoon Network, which is basically, I think, being discontinued. So, the thing about Sofia the First and Cedric is that a lot of anything to do with bodily functions was either non-existent or so subtle that you could pretty much deny it. There's certain characters that, you cannot be overt. You just can't. With their bodily fluids or functions, you just can't. And that's what people don't understand about that movie that I was obsessed with for so long is, they're trying to say that, well, I can't prove that she did. Well, they can't prove that she didn't. But she's just one of those characters that you have to be subtle. You really can't show the things that you would need to show to prove it. And it's like that with most characters, really. There's only really one main archetype of character that you can show having bodily functions. And that's how you know that it wasn't someone like Tommy, because Tommy and Dill and even Phil kind of fit into the archetype of the only characters whose bodily functions could be shown and known. So that if it was them, it would be very overt and very obvious. So the fact that it's not very obvious is all the proof I need to believe that it wasn't Tommy that they're referring to. And I know why. I believe what I believe and why. So anyway, with Cedric, it's like I just always have this fantasy about humanizing villains or humbling villains, with basic bodily fluids and functions. And I used to think I wanted to write fan fiction, and I think I may have even created an account somewhere with the intent to write some kind of Sofia the First fan fiction. Well, luckily there was enough red tape involved that I just never got around to writing even the first story. And it's a good thing because there are only 3 stories that I could really get into writing, and they would definitely offend at least one person in this world and probably never even get posted. And here's the synopsis of the 3 kinds of stories, the only 3 kinds of stories that would ever do anything for me. Someone catches a cold, someone throws up, someone craps their pants. Basically, that's the 3 summaries, of stories that I would ever like to write. Anything short of that, shy of that, is just not something that would really motivate me to write. So anyway, that's why it's a good thing I've never gotten heavily involved in fan fiction and try to post it, because it would offend someone and they would report it, and then I would feel 10 times worse than if I had just left it in my head and never posted it. So anyway, and it was funny, I just laugh because it's like, even my little sister's friends and cousins could tell that I was weird. And her cousin, she has a girl cousin slightly younger than her, and she was like, why is it all you ever talk about is somebody throwing up, catching a cold, or pooping in their pants? And I just bust out laughing because it's like I couldn't deny it. You know, I'm weird. I can't help it. I don't know why those things affect me so much, but they do. So yeah, always have. Likely always will. So yeah, so I offended a few people out there by wanting Cedric. At the time, I was obsessed with that show to have, just some bodily function issues, usually involving colds, vomit, and I don't know about that other thing. I mean, that might be a little bit too much. But anyway, so what I want to talk about is how finally get around to saying it. I wrote this song about how I believe that there was a puke scene, a very subtle puke scene. I mean, obviously with Disney, they're not going to have your graphic Nickelodeon style vomit everywhere, all over Drew's sweater, which basically that's why I've stated before that even if you could disprove what I've been saying about her, I mean, she's still, at the end of the day, the girl that puked on her daddy in one of the most graphic cartoon puke scenes I had ever seen in my life. So, trying to defend the girl that puked on her daddy from the other thing I want to say is ridiculous. So, the thing about Cedric is that most people don't realize this, not even the most knowledgeable fans of the show probably didn't notice this, but there's a lesser known episode called The Curse of Princess Ivy. And it was a longer episode, kind of like more of a special. Like you'd have your regular, I want to say like you'd have 30-minute episodes, that were just daily episodes. And then you have like your hour-long episodes. And one of them was called The Curse of Princess Ivy. I think it's 10 years old or so. And I think 22 minutes into it is a very subtle and very deniable puke scene with Cedric. And I wrote about it in that song. And it's about, well, I mean, you could easily deny it, but, Sofia is just a really bad driver and she's landing the flying coach in such a way that it is a crash landing, basically. And you just have to really understand physics to know why I think of it that way. And which the average watcher of Sofia the First doesn't. And how objects resist changes in velocity. And, so when they crash landed this flying coach, you have Cedric, and he gets down, like in the position of a cat when it's vomiting, or someone leaning over the toilet, with his head under the seat. And I'm demonstrating with this bottle. Okay, so if this is his stomach, let's just say there's a little bit in his stomach. Okay, so he's leaning down like this. Okay, and the coach is going this way. And so he's, leaning down. So it'd be like this. Like if this was his stomach, I'm not going to open it, but it's like, I mean, do you honestly think that if I uncap this right here, that this soap wouldn't just squirt out all over the place? So that's him leaning his head down under the seat, and it's like, so if he had anything in his stomach at all, he would have vomited all over, under the seat in the flying coach, which was being destroyed by Sofia as she crash landed it. So anyway, 20 some odd minutes to talk about that. And, people would probably deny it. Oh no, he would never puke. They would never have him puking. Bull effing SHIT. So yeah. But that's how subtle you have to be with such characters, Pretty much anyone who is female and or a character over the age of 3, you have to have a certain subtlety about their bodily fluids and functions. And like I stated before, it's really only one type of character that can have overt bodily functions, and it's a male character of a pre-verbal age like Tommy, which is how you know it isn't Tommy, and it can't be Tommy. So yeah, I don't want to get back into Sofia the First, but I did make this song about Cedric vomiting and why I believe that happened in that movie.